Hello everybody, Pnawn da pawb, Kate Oma. I'm Kate Jones. I'm a history teacher, originally from North Wales, from Wrexham. That's why I'm really glad to be presenting at BrewEd Cymru today. But now I live in Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates. I've been here for 5 years. I'm a teacher and head of history at the British school Al Kabairat, and I've also authored 3 books that you can see there. Now, here in Abu Dhabi, we have been doing remote online learning since March 2020. Key Stage 3 haven't actually physically been in school since March last year. So I do have a little bit of experience with this. It still doesn't feel normal or the new normal. It's still very unusual. It's not as enjoyable. We've been back in school and then students were told they were coming back and then they had to go home, and it's just very complicated all around the world. So hopefully this presentation today might be of use of you when I share some tools that have supported me with my teaching and my students' learning. And the first tool I'm going to share with you is actually a website you might be familiar with. It's called the nounproject.com, where you can access a wide range of icons for free that you can use and put into your resources. Now, I've created an activity called Picture Prompt. Now, I tend to do this as a retrieval task, where students have to write down what they can remember about a specific topic, and the icon literally just acts as a cue, as a prompt. And this came from a lesson that I was doing with year 8, where I would have a prompt on the board, which would be a portrait of Henry VIII. And I would ask students to write down what they could remember about Henry VIII. And they would either describe the portrait, they would write that he was fat and overweight, and that he was a king and he had 6 wives. And I was very frustrated because I wanted them to be recalling what we'd been doing in lessons about the break with Rome, dissolution of the monasteries. I hadn't actually asked them to do that. I just said, write whatever you can about Henry VIII. So I decided to take that prompt and structure it better. And I included icons, and I noticed that the quality and the quantity in terms of their answers improved significantly. However, this doesn't have to be a retrieval activity. This can be an activity where students have to find a relevant icon, or where the icons are there just to help in coding and for consolidation. But we know a lot about dual coding now, and dual coding isn't just about sticking icons onto things. We do have to think very carefully about the icons and images we are selecting. But if you would like to use and explore them within your subject, then nounproject.com is really useful. Now, this app I have been using for years. Mark Anderson, he's at ICT Evangelist. He recommended this to me a long time ago, way before remote learning. But then I stopped using it for a while, and then during remote learning, it became incredibly helpful. So you don't need to be a Microsoft school. I have an iPhone. Microsoft Office Lens is a free app that you can download on any device. And basically what it does is a camera inside the app. So what students can do is take a photo of their work using their phone, but not a photo just on their camera roll, because when students do take photos of their work and send it to you, it can be quite blurry, poor quality, difficult to read. And I really wanted to make sure that students were still writing and having a break from screen time and still practicing their literacy skills. So I encouraged them to write, but obviously remote, they weren't in the classroom, and I wanted to see their work, hold them to account, provide feedback. Then I recommended this app. And this camera, a Microsoft Office Lens, has edge detection software, so it will only pick up the document. It will make sure that the document is very sharp and crisp, as it says there, neat and powerful. And it can also convert it. It can convert documents. If you're taking a photograph of a piece of paper, it can convert it to a PDF. So another reason why I really like this as well, when I was in the classroom and I was making notes on the whiteboard, and then obviously you have to rub that off because the next class are coming in, you could take a really high quality photo of the whiteboard, it will convert it to a PDF, you've got the notes from the lesson saved, either for future reference or for anybody who's been absent. So another free tool that is really handy. I shared this with my friends on Facebook, actually, who lots of them aren't teachers, but lots of my friends are parents, and they said they found this really helpful when trying to send their children's work to their teachers, and they even noticed the quality was much better as well. So do check out Microsoft Office Lens. Next app, I love this app, Word Photo. I tend to use this more so than my students use it. But again, it's this idea of combining words and images. This could be a retrieval task. It could be for discussion, for reminder. For example, the Lord Kitchener poster there with all keywords connected to our topic. And that could be enough to say, right, based on using that, what can you recall about joining up in World War I? Obviously, it's great for language. We have Cymraeg there, pynciau, ysgol hanes, and so on, mathematic. We've got the 1066, but it's really powerful for giving students that bit more, combining relevant images and words together. You could potentially ask students to make their own. There are online versions that are free. Wordart.com is another great one. And this is also great when you're looking at perhaps tier 3, vocabulary, subject specific terms, and trying to link them in with relevant images in your subject. Now, there's so many online quizzing tools. We're very lucky. There's Quizlet, Kahoot, I'd say there's lots like Carousel Learn, Jamboard, Google Forms, Microsoft Forms. There we go. I went a bit blank then, couldn't actually retrieve them. But my favorite, without a doubt, is Quizzes. And I have got access to the paid version, but actually for months I've just used the free version. And the free version, all you need to do is sign up with an email address. You can have multiple choice questions, free recall questions. You can include images for prompts. You can have equations, audio for MFL. I love this website probably for it passes my test for using technology in the classroom, which it should be workload friendly, user friendly, and low stakes. It's very low stakes. It's just a fun quiz, and Quizzes has music, it has memes, it has all these things to make it very fun. But it's low stakes, that the fun side element, but it does record the results for you. And actually, a school asked me the other day that they were a bit uncomfortable with students putting their names on online quizzes because of GDPR, and I'm not quite 100% sure about that in the UK, as I think it's different here. But if you wanted to do it truly no stakes, you could ask students to put the name of their favourite Harry Potter character as their quiz name on here. Now, there's a huge disadvantage to that, is you won't actually see which specific individuals are able to recall what incorrectly or correctly, but retrieval practice is meant to be low or no stakes. It isn't meant to be an assessment tool, it's meant to be a learning tool. So do check out retrieval practice, great for workload. You can teleport questions from other teachers' quizzes. Even if you don't like their whole quiz, you might just want to take one question, teleport it across to yours, and you can even edit the multiple choice questions or options as well. So it's a really flexible quizzing tool that I like. Oh, and here we go. All of the other tools. Oh, I forgot to mention Mentimeter. I've used Mentimeter a lot to start my lessons. We have Google Classroom, and we did formal assessments on Google Forms. So Google Forms for my students tends to be quite high stakes, but I still start lessons with retrieval practice, and Mentimeter is great. You can have multiple choice, free recall, you can create a word cloud, and I will often just have that as my starting point as students are entering the online Zoom lesson, and they know to go to Mentimeter, enter the code, answer the questions. And it is truly no stakes because students don't even need to enter their name, but it does give you a snapshot of the class and what they are able to recall and any gaps in their knowledge. So just a reminder, make sure any online tools that you're using for retrieval practice are low stakes. As I've said, we use Google Forms at my school for formal assessments. So we'll use Kahoot and Quizzes for low stakes. Workload friendly. They mark the quizzes for you there and there instantly. That's fantastic. You're not being lazy. We've got to take advantage of technology and what it can do for us. And then this is really important as well, that it's user-friendly, that it's easy for you to navigate as a teacher and easy for the students. Now, the first time you use a quizzing tool, you might need to explain it to the class. That's perfectly fine. But then really, it probably should become automatic. If it's very complex, that will be quite demanding on their working memory, short-term memory, which we don't want. So actually, it's probably the most important point. Is it user-friendly for you and for the students in front of you? So there were some of my favourite tools from online learning. In my new book, Retrieval Practice 2, which is out at the end of January, there's a whole chapter about retrieval practice during a global pandemic. A chapter I never thought I'd have to write, as well as taking the next steps with retrieval practice. But if you don't want to buy my book, then you can just go on my website, and there's lots of free blogs that I've written about just general teaching and learning, and I'm very active on Twitter and Instagram, so please do connect with me. Diolch yn fawr iawn a hwyl fawr.